Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. And what we're going to make are cookies. But the type of cookies that we're going to make are actually these colorful little discs. They're a candy coating on the outside and they have chocolate on the inside. So many of you know them by two major companies that make these. And these are really quick and easy cookies to put together, and they are so good. They really are. So let's get started. First off though, I want to tell you, you do need 1.5 cups of these milk chocolate candy coated little discs, okay? 1.5 cups is needed. All right, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start off with butter, of course. And you need 1 cup of butter. I went ahead, cut it up into small pieces because I think it's quicker for the video and easier to cream. I'm going to turn my mixer on. I'd like to warn you about my sound on the mixer, okay? In case you want to, turn your volume down. Okay. Now you can use a hand mixer for this too, but due to the video, it's so much quicker for me to use my stand-up. The next thing you're going to put in is 1.5 cups of brown sugar, okay? And I'm going to put a little bit in at a time, and then I'm going to cream it. And again, warn you about that sound. I'm just going to go on the sides of my mixing bowl, try to get to the bottom a little bit so that it's combined well and creamed together. It needs just a little bit more. Okay. It's going to take you probably 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just moving it along on higher speed to make it faster. The next thing you're going to be putting in is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Okay, that was 2 teaspoons. And the next thing you're going to put in is 2 eggs. I've had them at room temperature, and I'm going to beat 1 in at a time till it's combined and then add the second. Once again, it really tends to stick to the side of this mixing bowl and the bottom a little bit, so I really want to make sure that it's combined. Okay, and again, you'll want to just beat it till your butter and your brown sugar are very light and fluffy and creamy. Okay, now let's work on the dry ingredients. You're going to need 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. 2 1/4. I'm going through the directions hopefully slowly enough that if you want to get the recipe, you can jot it down, because I no longer put the recipe below the video, and I'm sorry about that. You're also going to be putting in 1/4 teaspoon of salt into your flour. And then you're also going to be putting in 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So in the dry ingredients, you have 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm just using my little mini whisk here just to you know, stir it in together, okay? All right, and we're gonna put a little bit in at a time till it forms a cookie dough. Turn up the mixer, so I'll warn you about the sound. Again, spend a couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the power of, you know, your mixer, your hand mixer or stand mixer. But like I said, I really like to move it along for the videos. And now I'm just trying to take off some of the excess off my beater. Set that aside. And then I'm just going to try to give it a good turn here. A little bit awkward with my cast on. But I'll show you what the cookie dough looks like. Okay, it's quite light and fluffy, sort of a light tan color. Smells so good with that butter and the sugar, especially when you're baking these too. The whole kitchen smells so good, it really does. The next thing that you're going to need, of course, is a cookie sheet or a baking pan. I will tell you that I've made these cookies with parchment paper and then also where I just tried greasing the pan. And I will tell you, I like them better when I use the parchment paper. The only difference is I noticed that when I baked the cookies on the grease pan, the cookies, they were a little bit puffier, or they were higher in height. And they were flatter on the parchment paper. But this particular cookie really isn't going to rise really high. It's flat cookie. It's a chewy cookie. You know, that kind of thing. Now what you'll want to do is to put down like a tablespoon or a little bit more than a tablespoon, or use your, you know, your scoop like I have right here. It's not the smallest one, it's actually the next one up from it. It's about a tablespoon basically. And then what you'll want to do is you want to place them about 2 inches apart because they are going to flatten out, okay? And so do space them. What I also find is that you really want to try to have them as rounded as you you know, that you can get them. I'm not going to put them all down here and bore you with that, but I'll just, you know, I'll put down the 4, okay? And then this is where you need your little chocolate, okay? And a little bit harder with gloves on. And I put about 5 on each cookie. As you put them in, flatten them in the cookie. You know, flatten, push the chocolate down, and that way you're flattening it a little bit. Now, you might find you want to put 6 of the little chocolates in. 5 usually for me does it. But, you know, like I said, you might want to use more. But if you use about 5 each, you're going to need about, you know, as I said in the very beginning, 1.5 cups. So that's why I tend to stay with the 5, so that I have enough for the recipe, that kind of thing. Okay, and then of course you can vary the colors or however that you want. This is a nice recipe to do when you're baking with children, in particular or grandchildren. Now you're going to bake these cookies at 375 degrees, and truly they can come up between 7 and 9 minutes because, you know, all our ovens set up so differently. What I also did by making these, well, I made this recipe quite a bit. is that you are probably going to be thinking when if you first make them, like, you know what, they look a little raw, I better leave them longer. The problem is they will burn. That's the only thing is they are done within, I mean, I've had today my batches came out between 7 and 8 minutes. You know, I've had them take the whole 9 minutes. So do watch them, because, you know, our ovens, as I said earlier, they set up so differently. But you can dry these cookies out, and yes, you can easily burn them. And it's pretty frustrating after all your work, your time, your money, and your energy. So I check mine around 6 minutes, then 7. I try not to open the oven too much. Rotate, if you're doing 2 trays at a time, rotate the cookies, but you don't want to over bake them because you can burn them very, very easily. What I also found is that you'll want to leave them on the pan for just a minute or 2 and then remove them. I've always had better luck to remove these cookies when they were still a little bit warm rather than, you know, completely cold. But again, you might be different. These are just, you know, suggestions of what it works for me. It might be different in your kitchen. So let me just quickly take off one glove here. My hand is clean underneath that, and I'd like to show you what these cookies look like once they're baked up, and this is how they'll turn out. Now again, on these you can see here's one, I believe I have 6 on, 6 little ones, but 5 generally, you know, does it, okay, when you're, you know, making them. They will bake up a nice golden brown on the bottom, and they are extremely light. They're not a real dense cookie. This outside is a firm, but it's not crispy or hard. Either is this. I mean, the top is a little bit crispier than the top. When you break into them, and I hope that you can see that, they are very, very moist. As I press down on the cookie, I hope you can see how moist they are. So they are a very chewy cookie. You know, I hope that you can see that when I'm pressing on that cookie. So they're very light. They're great with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or just a nice glass of either chocolate or regular milk. Very cold glass of milk. Wow, what a great tasting cookie. On the amounts of how you'll get them, depending on how large you make them, I have generally yield about 25 cookies. If I make them smaller, a little bit, you know, less than a tablespoon, I've gotten 30 cookies out of them. So it really depends on how big you make these, okay? So I hope you give these cookies a try. If you do, leave a comment because I'd like to hear from you. I also want to tell you that I no longer put the recipe below the video due to so many people taking my work, and I'm not alone, that's for sure, on different sites and whatever. And it's frustrating when you write to me or comment and I can't write back to you. So please, if you'd be kind enough to watch my videos on YouTube, because that's the only place that I put them on. And if you do write or have a question, I will answer in a timely fashion, okay? And if you're so inclined and you'd like to subscribe to the channel, boy, I'd appreciate it, or even give the video a like. That would be great. So, thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.